We just got an email from US government officials. This might be the end of our business. Let's explain what happened, why it's happened, and how we can fix this. But first, let's start from the beginning. 4 years ago, together with Fantasia North, I started a project. I tested out and started making my own version of Kolinsky Sable paintbrushes, produced by one of the world's best manufacturers for Kolinsky Sable, Da Vinci. This is way back in the channel's history when I had about 100,000 subscribers, and it was the peak beginning COVID era. Hey everyone, you're watching Squidmar Miniatures. I'm Emil. I had had a channel for about a year, and until that point I had done everything myself. Literally all the editing, all the thumbnails, recording and painting. And when we had finished testing the brushes, made the boxes and everything, released it on Kickstarter, it hit some form of magic algorithm and it sold about 10 times as much as our pie in the sky dream number for selling brushes was. Because the initial idea was just to make the brushes that I like using and being able to offer them to some of my viewers. And this successful campaign really freaking kickstarted the future of this YouTube channel. It meant that pretty much directly after the Kickstarter ended, I could hire a full-time editor, and about half a year after that, I hired Lucas to be part of the channel. On top of that, it helped us move to a bigger studio, so I wouldn't have to record everything in the basement in my home with the kids screaming in the background half the day. Helps this channel out, helps me run it every week. Just reinvesting a majority of that money back into the channel to make sure that the channel could grow, but also make sure that I didn't have to do 60-70 hours every week, working every evening and weekend to make sure that I had 1 or 2 videos to publish every week. And the best thing of all, that reinvestment worked greatly. People have been loving Lucas, and just generally people responded really well. With growing though, there's always growing pains, and especially with the campaign there was a lot of delays with shipment, mainly because we had 10 times as much to deliver as we had expected. But we've learned through the way, and I'm super proud of how everything went down and how the channel has developed since. Especially I feel like with the team we put together, that's just been an amazing journey for me personally to have great people around me. And after this, we continued selling brushes. Like, it did really well as well after the campaign ended, and we kept using the brushes and kept loving using them. But there was a storm brewing in the background. As time has gone on, some things have changed, so the quality control that we have for the brushes have been updated, making sure that customers get even better packs of brushes sent to them. We also made guides to help people learn more how to use Kolinsky Sable for the first time, as it can be a bit different compared to, especially if you've been using synthetic brushes. And you might ask yourself, Emil, what is the problem? What are you talking about? One of the things that we learned was that some shipments got stopped in the customs on the way to the customer to the US, and stopped by US wildlife inspections. And this was a bit surprising to us because all over Europe there's never been any problem. The only ones we had problems was with shipments to the US, and it wasn't often, some of them, and very far in between. So we started looking into it. And one thing to know about Kolinsky Sable brushes is they are made from the hair of the Kolinsky Sable. It's sort of a weasel, so to say. This weasel mainly exists in China and Russia, and it's by no means an endangered species. On the contrary, in many places it's more considered like a pest, similar to rats maybe, or mice in other countries. And you can say what you want about animal products, I'll leave that up to you, but as of today, Kolinsky Sable brushes are by far the best miniature painting brushes. They hold the tip the best, the flow of the paint from the brush is the best, and they hold the quality for longer than the general synthetic lines do. In a dream world, it would have been awesome if synthetic brushes would be able to reach to this quality. And maybe they can in the future, but we'll talk more about that later in this video. Suddenly, brushes started getting stopped more, so we started digging into it. And we found a ton of articles. And according to Artist Network, this is what's happened. The Kolinsky weasel, from whose fur the Kolinsky sable brushes are made, is a mid-sized creature found in plentiful numbers in China and Russia. But the tale they're about to tell us begins in India, with mongooses and snakes. It's a tale that explains why Kolinsky sable brushes have been and may become even more so difficult to get hold of in the US. Snakes thrive in India. The mongooses is India's sole natural predator of snakes. So if you live in India, you are probably rooting for the mongoose. And the best thing is you have the government on your side. Some fur hunters, however, find the protected status of the mongoose to be a nuisance. And they've been getting around by mislabeling mongoose fur as Kolinsky sable, even though the Kolinsky weasel does not live in India. Enter the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna, also known as CITES, of which India as a country is a member, also the US. So to clarify, because some idiots in India mislabel mongoose fur as Kolinsky sable, even though there is no Kolinsky sable fur to be found in India, no Americans can import products made from Kolinsky hair. There are many other possible reasons for the embargo. India is only one. Here is another theory. If you search deeper, there are dozens of articles citing different researches or articles, and it's difficult to know exactly who's telling the truth and what is hearsay. But one thing that is for sure is that after the Ukraine invasion made by Russia, selling a mostly Russian-sourced product anywhere in the world has become increasingly more difficult, which is reasonable, and especially exporting this to the US has become problematic, whether or not the origin of that hair is Russia or some of the other Asian countries. And there are even conspiracies and theories alluding that the main reason why it's been banned has to do with its Russia and China connection. And quite frankly, there even are some real tangible embargoes on products sold from Russia and China as is today. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to expect that that might has something to do with the political situation in the world. So how do we move on with this problem? How do we not have to shut down that part of our business? Well, once something is on the endangered species list, there is one thing you can do to sort that problem, and that is getting something called CITES permits. Because if you as a customer has CITES permits to import that product, you can actually import brushes yourself. But this would mean that for every single brush box that we sell, we will have to have permits from the country of origin, probably from the country where it's produced, so Germany, and from the country it's shipped from, meaning Sweden. And there is no like overarching permit that we as a company can apply for to make sure that we can export brushes. No, it has to be applied for every single buyer buying from us. And I guess we've been lucky that we've been able to export as many as we have, and you guys have been able to import as many brushes as you have from various places to the States. But over the last couple of weeks, it seems like we have been red flagged by the US government, meaning that every package that we send is then checked by the US Wildlife Association, which is their job based on the rules that are in place that we've found out after we started producing the product. And the nail in the coffin came just last week when I got an email from Charles Q clearly stating that if you guys do not have CITES permits, we should stop sending packages to the customers in the US. How do we solve this? Well, let's get back to that after a short message from this week's sponsor, Into the AM. Over the past 3 years, Lucas and I have been massive fans of Into the AM and the shirts that they make, because they are some of the most beautiful graphic t-shirts on the internet. Especially in the last 6 months, I've truly fallen in love with these type of shirts where you have a small print in the front and a big one in the back, because they just feel a little bit more subtle, but you still have that awesome graphic design on them. Some of the best things for me being a tall guy, I'm 195 or 6'5", is that the t-shirts are slightly longer than the stuff that you get in other local stores, meaning that my belly is invisible the second that I stretch my arms out. On top of that, I also fallen in love with the flannel shirts, which are just spot on. I use them every week, especially now that it's getting a little bit colder. And guys, during Black Friday and Cyber Monday, so from November 13th to December 8th, there will be a sale with up to 60% off some of their shirts. And 10% off the entire purchase if you follow that link down below. So what are you waiting for? Look awesome this winter. And now let's get back talking about the US government fucking shit up. Fair enough, Charles Q. This is something that once we started digging in, see pretty much happening all over the industry. Most brands don't ship to the US, and heck, Amazon US don't have a single Kolinsky Sable paintbrush in their store. This does put a little bit of a problem in our hands though, because 55% of our customers are in the US. And the brushes being our best seller. You get it, but we do have a plan. And I think that maybe long term we can fix it. But is it possible to get sites for every product that we sell now and ship brushes to the States? No, it is not, because we would lose money on every sale. The margin isn't amazing on Kolinsky Sable because they are very labor intensive to produce and thus cost a lot to make. And having someone just applying for sites permits all day long would cost us way more than we actually sell. And on top of that, if you check this list of pricing from the Fish and Wildlife, you can see that we would have to pay $25 to have every box controlled with the sites permits. On top of that, there's a yearly fee and an hourly fee based on how long time it takes to check the packages. So, yikes, this would be more than probably a 50% price increase if we still wanted to ship to the US, which is a big if. And we are looking into alternative ways to getting the products in, maybe getting sites permits for one massive shipment and finding an American distributor to handle that for us, but we are not quite there yet. So yeah, where do we go from there? It's gonna be tough because we have a couple of rules in this office whenever we make a product, two specifically that we always follow with everything that we produce. Number one, it has to be a product that we use ourselves and is produced by a company that we would be happy to pay for their main product line from, which causes a bit of a problem because we mainly use Kolinsky Sable brushes, right? In every mini. And number two, it has to be a product that helps our viewers to have an easier access to paint the way that we do. In the background, over the past 2 years, Lucas and I have been doing a lot of tests, and I mean a lot of tests. And this testing has been mainly done to rework our brush lineup with Kolinsky brushes to make a Squidmar Mark II set that will be more based on the way that we paint today compared to the way that we painted 4 or 5 years ago. But with this set, the problem would remain. We can still not send that set to the US. But there's been a lot of development in the 5 past years. Brush manufacturers have been hard at work to develop more unique ways of producing brushes. And we might have found an alternative that would be a perfect complement to a Kolinsky brush that has very, very, very similar properties, but that is not made of any natural hair. So we might have found a solution. There's still a lot of testing to do. We need to test them long term to make sure that they actually hold over a longer time as well, not just a short-term solution. But I definitely feel like we are onto something that will hopefully work and be able to replace for a lot of the Americans the Kolinsky Sable brushes. So that is kind of the solution that we are aiming for right now. Make a set of Kolinsky Sable brushes and see if we long-term can find a better solution with sites, but also have an alternative that is a non-natural product that everyone can get wherever you are in the world. But this also means that until that time, if it's a year out or 9 months, we don't know. We just have to do a lot of testing and make sure that it lives up to all of those requirements that we have on products ourselves before we can release it. Until then, sorry US viewers, we cannot ship you Squidmar Mark I brushes. And maybe we'll never be able to ship those again, but we'll keep you updated whenever we have a change in news or we have that new product ready that will give you that fine quality control. Does this mean that our entire business is going to shut down because we've lost some of our income sources? Thankfully not. Right now YouTube is doing great for us, which is, we feel so lucky to be able to say that because I know it's a very tough market right now on YouTube. Our Patreon supporters are stronger than ever, which has just been amazing because that's pretty much where I get my salary from. And on top of that, we've had other releases such as airbrushes or the paint sets that we released 3 weeks ago that has just been doing fantastically well. And we are so thankful that you guys have been supporting us and been just as excited about that product as you were with the brushes 4 or 5 years ago. And with that, we should be fine until further notice. Hopefully there's no ban on paint sets in the future, because that's gonna cause a real issue. So now you know what the plan is, you know what's happened, why it's happened, and what our hopeful solution is. I hope you learned something today. If you did, please smash the like button, because that is the main way that YouTube know that it should recommend this video to new people, so every like helps more than you think. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. I know that Steve out there is not, so fuck you. And a massive thanks to Into the AM for all their awesome shirts that I use every day, and of course for sponsoring this video, and to our patrons. Have a good day, everyone.